I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am, trying to piece everything together after the worst betrayal of my life. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for about 5 years. We had our issues like any couple, but I always believed we were solid, at least, until that day I realized everything I thought I knew was a lie. It all started a few weeks ago, right after my father's funeral. My dad was sick for a long time, and it was a really tough period for us. Emily was by my side, acting like she was the perfect wife, but I started noticing little things. She seemed distant, distracted even, and she was secretive about her phone. I'd catch her hiding her screen when I walked into the room or see her hurriedly delete messages. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I couldn't help feeling there was something she wasn't telling me. Then there were the odd hours. She'd leave early in the mornings or stay out late. I asked her about it once, and she snapped at me, saying I was being paranoid. She accused me of overthinking everything, that I was insecure. Yeah, typical Emily, bitchy, dismissive, and with a tendency to lie when the truth was uncomfortable. Still, I kept quiet, telling myself I was paranoid, that maybe she was just stressed after the funeral. But then came the receipts. I found them by accident. It was a random day, and I was looking for my wallet in her purse because I needed to grab some cash. I saw a small, crumpled hotel receipt peeking out from a side pocket. It was from a hotel downtown, dated just a couple of nights after the funeral. I thought maybe she'd gone there to meet a friend or a family member, but I figured I should check. The more I looked, the more receipts I found. Hotel check-ins, dinner receipts, little things that didn't add up. That's when I saw the name on the hotel booking, Jack. Jack was her boss, a guy she'd always told me was just a work colleague. She mentioned him once or twice, acting like he was a decent enough guy but nothing special. But these receipts, they told a different story. She stayed there with him more than once. It wasn't just a quick thing, not some innocent moment of grief. As she told me when I confronted her later, she was lying through her teeth. I was frozen, my stomach twisting in knots. My mind raced. How could she do this? How could she cheat on me, especially during my father's funeral? I kept asking myself if I'd missed signs, if I'd been blind. I wanted to believe she was somehow telling the truth, that maybe she was just grieving and they had some sort of work-related thing, but the evidence didn't lie. It was too obvious, too damning. The worst part, she still denied it when I called her out. She looked me in the eye, all cold and bitchy, and told me I was overreacting. It was just a one-time thing, she spat. I was drunk, upset, and Jack took advantage of me. You're making a big deal out of nothing. That's when I realized she didn't even care. She saw me hurting and dismissed it like it was nothing, like I didn't matter. I've never felt so betrayed, so stupid for not seeing it earlier. I thought I knew her, but it turns out I was just fooling myself. There's this deep, gnawing ache in my chest now, a mix of anger, sadness, and a sick regret. I keep replaying everything, her words, her lies, the receipts, and asking myself how I got here. How did I not see the signs? How could she be so careless, so cruel? The worst part is that I loved her. I still do, even with all this dirt under my fingernails. She's the mother of my kids, the woman I promised to spend my life with. But now, I'm not sure what to believe anymore. After I found the receipts, everything else just spiraled out of control. I couldn't focus at work. My mind kept going back to her, to Jack, to the lies. I was furious but also devastated. How could she do this during the funeral of my father, the man who spent his entire life telling me to be honest, to be loyal? It felt like a punch to the gut every time I thought about it. That night, I stayed up, staring at my phone, trying to decide what to say or do next. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, to get it over with. But another part, the one that always tried to keep some sense of reason, told me to wait, to gather my thoughts. I couldn't just blow up without knowing everything. I needed to be certain about what I'd found. So I started digging through her emails, her social media, her texts on the side. I didn't want to just rely on the hotel receipts. Those were just the tip of the iceberg. What I found were more lies. She'd been texting Jack almost every day, sometimes late into the night. The messages weren't even subtle, flirty, intimate, with promises to meet up again. She'd even sent him pictures of herself, of her body, like some cheap affair flick. When I saw that, my stomach turned. I felt like I'd been punched again, but this time in the gut with no way to hold back the pain. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I kept my cool, at least outwardly. I thought about what I'd do. I had to confront her, but I also needed a plan. I couldn't just accuse her blindly. I needed her to admit it, to admit she lied, that she betrayed everything we had. Maybe I even wanted her to feel vulnerable, to see how much she'd hurt me. That's when I decided I'd catch her off guard, catch her in the act if I had to. The next day, I came home early from work, pretending to be busy, but really I was just waiting. I set up my phone with a voice recorder and placed it somewhere she wouldn't notice. I wanted her to slip up, to say something she'd regret. I also left my phone on the nightstand, ready to record any messages or calls she might make. I was planning to catch her red-handed, or at least get some proof beyond the receipts and texts. And sure enough, it happened just as I expected. She came home late, looking all flustered and defensive. She was trying to act like she'd been at a friend's house, but I didn't buy it. I was calm, cool, and collected. I needed her to think I was clueless, so I kept my poker face on. That's when she got on the phone, saying something about finishing up with Jack, and I caught every word. It was clear she was planning the next meetup, talking like she was in some secret affair. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst. I had all the evidence now, the receipts, the texts, the voice recordings. There was no denying it anymore. She was cheating, plain and simple. I looked her in the eyes and told her I knew everything. Her reaction, she snapped. Started yelling, calling me insecure, paranoid, crazy for accusing her of something she didn't do. That's when I saw her true colors, her real, bitchy, manipulative side. She told me I was overreacting, that I was ruining everything for a stupid reason and that I should just get over it. But I couldn't. I felt numb, like I'd been kicked in the stomach again. All those years of love, trust, and promises shattered in an instant. I was so angry I wanted to scream at her, wanted to shake her and make her see just how much she'd hurt me. But I also felt this piercing sadness, like I'd lost her, not just as a wife but as a person I thought I knew. I started questioning everything, her words, her actions, her lies. How many times had she lied to my face? How many other secrets was she hiding? The fact that she lied so effortlessly, so bitchily, just made my blood boil. I realized she had no remorse, no shame, just a cold, calculated attitude that told me she didn't care about me or what I felt. That realization crushed me even more. I kept replaying that moment over and over, wondering if I had done something wrong, if I was just too naive to see what was happening right under my nose. But deep down, I knew one thing. I couldn't stay with someone who lied and cheated on me during my father's funeral, who dismissed my feelings like they were nothing. I deserved better. I had to decide what to do next, but right now, I was just trying to breathe through all this chaos. After that confrontation, everything changed. I couldn't look at Emily the same way. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted with my life, had turned into a stranger, cold, bitchy, manipulative. Her excuses didn't hold water anymore. She kept insisting it was just a moment of weakness, she was overwhelmed, or that I was crazy for even bringing it up. But I knew better. I had the proof. And no amount of her lies could undo that. The following days were a blur of anger, sadness, and confusion. I oscillated between wanting to scream at her, to leave immediately, and feeling this overwhelming sense of betrayal that kept me rooted to the spot. I was angry at her, furious that she would cheat on me, especially during my father's funeral, like I wasn't already mourning enough. And I was hurt, deeply hurt, because I had built a life with her. I thought she loved me, that we were in this together. Turns out she was just pretending. One night I finally decided I couldn't keep it bottled up anymore. I sat her down, told her I knew everything, about Jack, the hotel receipts, the texts, the calls. Her face twitched, a mix of annoyance, disdain, and that bitchy smirk she often wore when she thought she was in control. She tried to deny it again, claiming I was making things up, that I was jealous or insecure. The more she lied, the more I realized she wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. She was just trying to gaslight me into believing I was losing my mind. I told her I didn't want to hear her excuses. I told her I was done, that I couldn't be with someone who lied and cheated. That was the moment I saw her true colors, Her bitchiness flared up and she started yelling at me, calling me insecure, possessive, paranoid. She threw in some classic lines about how hard she's worked for us, how I was pushing her away, how she deserves to be happy. But I wasn't buying any of it. Her words felt empty, hollow. I saw through her like glass. The emotional impact hit me hard. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and so stupid for not noticing sooner. I kept replaying all the moments, her secretive behavior, her dismissive attitude, those sneaky texts, and asking myself how I didn't see the signs. I had built a life with her, shared my dreams, my fears, my future. And now it all seemed like a house of cards ready to fall. I felt like I was drowning in this storm of feelings, unsure of what was real anymore. But somewhere deep inside, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let her get away with it, not after everything. I had to decide whether I wanted to save what was left of us or cut my losses. The thing was, I felt like I was at a crossroads. I loved her, or at least I thought I did, but I couldn't ignore the fact that she'd betrayed me so thoroughly. The trust was shattered. How could I move on or forgive her after all this? That night, I made a decision. I told her I needed some space, that I was going to stay at my brother's place for a while to think. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just going to brush this under the rug or pretend it never happened. I wanted her to realize what she'd lost and that I wasn't some fool to be played with. I felt this strange mixture of relief and dread. Relief that I finally took a stand, and dread because I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Lying in that bed, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't stop the tears or the racing thoughts. I kept thinking about what my father would say if he saw me now, probably furious at her, furious at myself for letting it get this far. I also kept asking myself if I could ever forgive her, or if I even wanted to. Right now, I just wanted to get through the night without breaking completely. This mess had only just begun, and I knew that whatever came next, it would change everything. The next few days were a nightmare. I stayed with my brother trying to keep my head straight, but all I could think about was her, Jack, the lies, the betrayal. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her sneering at me, dismissing my feelings like I was nothing. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling back to that moment when I finally confronted her, and I realized just how much I'd been blind to her bitchy side, how she manipulates situations, how she's good at hiding what she doesn't want me to see. I kept replaying her words, her excuses. She kept insisting it was a one-time mistake, that she was sorry, that she loved me but was weak. Yeah, weak, like that somehow justifies destroying everything we built. I didn't buy it. She lied so effortlessly, so bitchily, that I started questioning every moment we shared. Did she ever really love me? Or was I just a placeholder for her, someone she settled for until she found something better? I knew I had to decide what to do next. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, not knowing whether she'd continue her affair or if she was genuine about ending it. I reached out to a lawyer, my first step toward understanding my options. I wanted to know what my rights were, how to protect myself, and what I'd be facing if I decided to end things. It was a cold, clinical process, but I needed to be practical. I couldn't afford to be emotional right now. While I was dealing with legal stuff, Emily kept pushing, trying to play the victim. She'd call me crying, saying I was overreacting, that I was breaking her soul, that she was sorry for hurting me. But every word sounded so hollow, so bitchy, like she was acting like I was the bad guy for catching her. She kept saying she didn't want to lose me, but her actions told another story. If she truly cared, she'd have confessed everything, apologized sincerely, and worked to fix this. Instead, she kept gaslighting, pushing blame onto me. One night she showed up at my brother's house, knocking on the door. When I opened it, she looked distraught, trying to act like she was the victim. She begged me to forgive her, said it was just a stupid mistake, that she was so sorry for betraying me during such a hard time. That was the moment I saw the true bitch in her, the way she manipulates, the way she's good at turning everything around so she's the victim. I was furious. I told her to leave, that I couldn't see her anymore, that I didn't trust her. Her eyes flashed with anger and she spat out that I was overreacting, that I was ruining everything because I was insecure. That was the breaking point. I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I had to make a decision, whether to fight for her, to try and fix what was broken, or to walk away and save what little self-respect I had left. Deep down, I knew I couldn't stay. I deserved better than a wife who cheated on me during my father's funeral and lied about it repeatedly. I deserved someone who was honest, loyal, and real. I started thinking about the future, about what life would be like without her. Honestly, I was scared. I loved her, but I also hated her for what she did. The betrayal cut so deep, I didn't know if I could ever truly trust her again. I wondered if I was just fooling myself, hoping for a redemption that might never come. The pain was raw and the anger simmered just beneath the surface. In the end, I decided I had to end it. I couldn't keep living in this toxic mess. I needed to reclaim myself, to stop letting her manipulate and lie her way through everything. I told her I was done, that I wanted a divorce. Her bitchy smile faded, replaced with a look of pure rage. She called me names, told me I was weak and pathetic, but I didn't care. I was done being her punching bag, her fool. That night, I finally slept a little better, knowing I was taking control of my life again. But even now, days later, I still feel like I'm walking around in a fog. This betrayal has changed me forever. I don't know what's next, but I do know that I've learned something important. Trust is fragile, and when it's broken, it's almost impossible to fix. And sometimes, the people you love the most turn out to be the ones who hurt you the deepest. The aftermath of the breakup hit me harder than I thought it would. I mean, I knew I was making the right decision. Walking away from someone who lied and cheated during my father's funeral is the only sane choice, right? But emotionally, it was like my world had been turned upside down. I kept asking myself if I'd done the right thing, if I could have somehow fixed it, or if I'd just been too weak to fight for what I deserved. The worst part was the constant nagging voice in my head telling me I'd failed, I'd been naive, and that I'd never get back the trust I'd lost. I spent days just going through the motions, trying to piece my life back together. I moved out of the house we shared, got a new place, and started to rebuild my sense of normalcy. It was tough. Every little thing reminded me of her. Her perfume on my pillow, her voice on the voicemails I couldn't bring myself to delete, the memories of our good times that now felt like cruel jokes. I felt like I was carrying this weight, bitterness, regret, anger, inside me, and I didn't know how to let go of it. People kept telling me I was lucky I caught her when I did, that I dodged a bullet. Honestly, I didn't feel lucky. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and deeply hurt. The betrayal was like a knife, and every time I thought about her bitchy face or Jack's smug smile, it made me want to scream. But I also had moments of clarity, times when I realized I was finally free from a toxic relationship, free from someone who didn't respect me or our vows. What surprised me most was how much I missed her, even after everything. I missed the way she used to look at me, the way she'd laugh at my stupid jokes, the small touches that once meant everything. But then I'd remember the lies, the cheating, the way she dismissed my feelings like I was nothing. That's when I knew I had to let go, even if it hurt. Like hell, because staying would only mean accepting more of her bitchy manipulations, and I didn't want that anymore. I started seeing a therapist after a friend recommended it. Honestly, I didn't think I had much left inside, but talking about everything helped. It helped me see that I wasn't the crazy one she was, that she had always been self-centered, manipulative, and good at hiding her true nature. It also made me realize I needed to focus on myself, rebuild my confidence, and find my footing again. Being with her, I'd lost sight of who I was. Now I was finally starting to remember. I also realized I wasn't alone in this. I reached out to a few friends, people I trust, and told them the truth. Their support was a lifeline. They told me I deserved better, that I shouldn't let her bitchiness and lies define me. Slowly, I started to see that the pain would fade, that I could move past this, even if it took time. What I've learned is that betrayal cuts deep, and sometimes the hardest thing is walking away. But it's also the thing that sets you free. I still get angry and upset, but I'm learning to let it go. I'm learning to forgive myself for not noticing sooner, and most importantly, to forgive her for being this person I never thought she'd be. Because holding onto that anger isn't going to fix anything. It's just a weight I don't need anymore. So, yeah, I'm still healing, still trying to figure out what's next, but I know one thing for sure: I'll never let someone like her manipulate me again. I've learned the importance of trust, honesty, and respect, and I won't settle for anything less. I don't want to live in the past, but I do want to move forward stronger and wiser. And if there's one thing I'd tell anyone reading this, especially those going through something similar, it's this: don't ignore the signs. Don't be afraid to walk away if you feel something's wrong. Because in the end, your happiness and self-respect matter more than any relationship that's built on lies. Now that I've finally reached this point, I realize just how much this whole experience has changed me. I used to think love was enough, that if I loved her, it would fix everything. But love isn't blind, and it certainly isn't enough. When the person you trust turns out to be a stranger in disguise, the betrayal has left scars, but it's also made me stronger. I've learned that honesty and loyalty are the foundation of any real relationship, and without them, everything crumbles. Looking back, I see the signs I ignored, the times I dismissed my gut feelings, and how I let her bitchy attitude slide because I didn't want to believe the worst. But now, I understand that self-respect is more important than holding onto something that's clearly broken. I learned to listen to myself, to trust my instincts, and to cut ties when someone shows they don't deserve my loyalty. I've also come to see that the pain of betrayal isn't just about the other person. It's about what it reveals within you. It shows your resilience, your ability to pick yourself up and keep going. I've had moments of pure anger, deep sadness, and even despair, but those feelings are gradually giving way to hope and a renewed sense of self. I'm starting to believe that I'll find happiness again, even if it's without her. One thing I know for sure is that I'll never let someone manipulate me like that again. I've become more cautious, more aware of red flags, and more committed to valuing myself. My focus now is on rebuilding my life, finding joy in the small things, reconnecting with friends, and figuring out who I am outside of that toxic relationship. It's not easy, and I still have days when I feel hollow, but I refuse to let her bitchiness and lies define me. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, I want to say, trust yourself. Don't ignore the signs. Don't stay just because you're comfortable or afraid of being alone. You deserve honesty, respect, and someone who loves you for who you are. None of us are perfect, and we all make mistakes, but cheating and lying aren't mistakes. They're choices, and they speak volumes about a person's character. Finally, I'll say this: time does heal, but only if you give yourself permission to let go of the pain and the anger. Forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of resentment. I've started that process, and I know I'll continue to get better. This experience has been brutal, no doubt about it, but it's also been a wake-up call. I won't be fooled again. I've learned my worth, and I'll never settle for anything less. Life moves on, and I choose to move forward, battered, scarred, but stronger. Because the truth is, I'm done with her bitchiness, her lies, and her betrayal. I'm finally ready to focus on myself, and that's the best revenge I could ever give.